JJK Season 2, Episode 2, reveals teenage Gojo's strengths and limitations. Jujutsu Kaisen's second episode in Season 2 highlighted the difference in strength between teenage Gojo and his Season 1 adult form. Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 has reintroduced Satoru Gojo, the fan-favorite strongest Jujutsu sorcerer of his time, in the prime of his youth. In the Hidden Inventory arc flashback, Gojo is nowhere near the omnipotent status he displayed in Season 1 of JJK, but is still a second-year student at the Tokyo Metropolitan Cursed Technical College. Even so, Gojo is still quite a force to be reckoned with, as evidenced by his exploits in Episode 2. Teenage Gojo isn't a full-fledged sorcerer yet, and his current mission is to highlight the gap between his current age and the adult form that fans are familiar with. Gojo's assignment is to safely transport Riko Amanai to Jujutsu High with Suguru Geto. The young girl happens to be the Star Plasma Vessel, the most important part of a ritual to prevent Master Tengen from evolving into an enemy of humanity. To do this, Riko's entire being will be assimilated into Tengen, allowing his immortality curse technique to refresh and delay his evolution for another 500 years. Their escort mission would ordinarily be child's play if several factions weren't opposed to the merger enough to target Riko Amanai. Currently, Gojo and Geto are fighting off waves of mercenaries in order to get Riko to Jujutsu High and Tengen safely. Gojo Satoru's Limitless cursed technique explained. Even in its current unmastered state, Gojo's innate technique is one of the most coveted throughout the Jujutsu world. Limitless allows its user to freely control the space around them by bringing the imaginary concept of infinity into reality. When his cursed technique is activated, any object that approaches Gojo continues to reduce in speed until it eventually stops short just before touching him. Essentially, the space between Gojo and whatever object or person is divided an infinite number of times, ensuring that no matter how fast they are approaching, there is always going to be some distance between them and Gojo. The infinity that surrounds Gojo is only the neutral version of his cursed technique. When he strengthens it with negative cursed energy, Gojo is able to literally delete the space in any area of his choosing, creating a vacuum that sucks the surrounding objects into itself. He calls this particular technique Curse Technique Lapse, Blue. The strength of Blue's vacuum is proportional to the amount of cursed energy that Gojo pours into the technique, allowing him to create relatively harmless effects, like when he forced 2 clones of the bounty hunter to crash into themselves, or even more devastating effects, like obliterating the entire side of a building when he instantaneously transported himself to his assailant's main body. The Limitless Curse technique is the pride of the Gojo clan, and although he isn't the only member to possess it, Satoru is the only one that can use it as effectively as he does. He does so because of his inheritance of the Six Eyes, the other unique technique of his clan. The Six Eyes gives Gojo an unparalleled insight into cursed energy and increased perception of his surroundings. The amount of information the Six Eyes supply Gojo is the only reason he is able to understand and control the concept of infinity. The Six Eyes also allow Gojo to optimize the amount of cursed energy required to activate any cursed technique, making him much more efficient than any other sorcerer. Gojo's infinity isn't automatic in JJK Season 2. While the barrier of Gojo's infinity was perpetually active in Season 1, that isn't the case in Season 2. During his fight against the bounty hunter that confronted him and Riko, Gojo had to manually activate his curse technique to achieve the invulnerable status that he flaunted. Compared to JJK's first season, when Gojo wouldn't flinch at sudden attacks like Jogo's flames or a thrown cup from Utahime, it appears that teenage Gojo needs to focus on maintaining his infinity and can't keep the barrier active indefinitely. If Gojo is caught by surprise, there should be nothing to stop assailants or weapons from making contact with him. Riko already proved this when she managed to land a slap on his cheek immediately after she regained consciousness. At that moment, Gojo believed himself to be in the company of allies and that he needed no protection. Riko's slap proved that Gojo can actually be touched by attacks he doesn't expect at this stage in his journey. Gojo can't use reverse cursed energy in JJK Season 2. The self-healing applications of reverse cursed energy are essential for maintaining Gojo's barrier in perpetuity. Even with the Six Eyes mitigating the worst of its effects, Limitless is still a pretty demanding cursed technique. Leaving his infinity active for an extended period of time would wreak havoc on Gojo's brain, slowing his reaction time and clouding his judgment the longer it shields him. In extreme cases, It could even lead to death. With reverse curse technique, any self-inflicted damage Gojo sustains from his curse technique could be healed in an instant. Gojo's lack of reverse curse technique at this stage also means one of his greatest weapons is still inaccessible to him. Reverse curse technique is powered by positive cursed energy, which is obtained by multiplying two sources of negative cursed energy by themselves. The result produces the opposite effect of one's traditional technique, which is more powerful than its inverse even with the same amount of cursed energy. Gojo managed to crack reverse cursed technique by adulthood, as evidenced by his repeated use of red in JJK Season 1 and Jujutsu Kaisen 0, but his failure to activate it during a critical moment in Episode 2 shows he isn't a sorcerer on that level yet. Gojo can't use a domain expansion in JJK Season 2. Ever since Gojo first unveiled his domain expansion against Jogo, Infinite Void has been widely regarded as his trump card since its mere activation alone settles any battle in his favor. Domain expansions are considered the pinnacle of Jujutsu and are usually battle-defining techniques, but Gojo's is especially dangerous since it paralyzes anyone caught within it immediately upon being cast. Infinite Void forces Gojo's victim to experience every life experience possible in one instant, leaving them helpless and in a near catatonic state. But Gojo isn't a proficient enough sorcerer to use it yet. Even without two of his most powerful techniques available to him yet, Gojo and Geto are confident enough in their abilities to declare themselves the strongest. Overall, Gojo's current power level still makes him a force to be reckoned with, but this season of JJK has stressed several times that he still has room for improvement in his manipulation of cursed energy and philosophy as a sorcerer. If the hints in the season's promotional materials are to be believed, Toji Fushiguro is going to end up being the catalyst that sparks the growth he sorely needs. Thanks for watching. Jujutsu Kaisen proves the real reason for Gojo's strength isn't what you think. Gojo is one of the most powerful characters in Jujutsu Kaisen. But the manga just showed that the true reason for this isn't just his powers. Gojo is one of the most powerful characters in Jujutsu Kaisen. And while his powers are incredibly strong, the manga's latest chapter proves that they're not the main reason he is such a force to be reckoned with. Of course, it took a fight against the series' other strongest character, Sukuna, in order for Gojo to truly display his hidden strength. But by saving this reveal for this battle, mangaka Gege Akutami increased the tension of their clash, and also made this revelation more satisfying. Chapter #226, translated by John Wary, follows up on the previous chapter's cliffhanger, with Gojo suffering a grievous injury from Sukuna's domain expansion. Gojo heals this injury using reverse cursed technique, but this is a temporary measure, given Sukuna can continue to strike at him while he is inside the large domain expansion. Gojo creates a simple domain to counteract these strikes, but the tactic only buys him time. After expending so much cursed energy, Gojo's main technique is essentially burnt out, preventing him from going on the offensive. However, Gojo recovers brilliantly by using his reverse curse technique to heal his Limitless curse technique, letting him hit Sukuna with a surprising hollow red blast. Jujutsu Kaisen proves Gojo's greatest strength is his innovation. This is an incredibly innovative use of cursed energy that demonstrates how innovative Gojo is when using his cursed techniques. This has already been somewhat implied by the various attacks that Gojo has been able to use with his Limitless technique. Hollow red, blue, and especially purple all require an incredible control and understanding of cursed energy, part of which Gojo gets from his Six Eyes inherited technique. This deep understanding of his own abilities lets him adapt and overcome any enemy that may overwhelm him, such as when he killed Toji after the man had beaten him in their first fight. However, Gojo rarely gets to show off this side of him given how few sorcerers can actually threaten him based on the base level of his overwhelming techniques. This makes it often seem like Gojo's only strength comes from his powerful abilities, and this would indeed be enough to make any sorcerer incredibly powerful. But if he didn't have such a grasp on how cursed energy and techniques work along with the innovation to use them in new and surprising ways, he likely wouldn't have beaten Toji or recovered in his fight with Sukuna. This shows that his true strength lies in his more subtle traits. Jujutsu Kaisen's best fight will continue to explore Gojo and Sukuna. Gojo will likely be displaying a lot more brilliant uses of his powers as the fight with Sukuna continues. Given Sukuna's own innovative brilliance and powers, he will have to. Gojo might be incredibly powerful, but it remains to be seen whether his innovation can outmatch Sukuna's ridiculous strength. Given that Yuji is Jujutsu Kaisen's main character, though, Gojo's time might very well be limited. Seeing both Gojo and Sukuna get pushed to their limits and beyond is both revealing much more about them and turns their clash into Jujutsu Kaisen's best fight. Thanks for watching.